When a team sells their best player, sometimes they're better off and sometimes they're worse off. But when it comes to free transfers, they don't necessarily have a say in it. Today, I'm here with Statman Dave to discuss whether or not some expiring contracts are going to work out better for the club or worse for the club next summer. But we'll start off in between the sticks with David De Gea. What do you think about him potentially leaving for the club?
Well, I think it'd be terrible. If David De Gea was to leave Manchester United, United would be in a far worse position. David De Gea, for me, is the best goalkeeper in the world. Yeah, he's had a bit of a rough patch in form with the World Cup and the start of the season with Man United not being that good, having a negative goal difference in the Premier League. But it's not really Dave's fault. Dave is a fantastic shot stopper, a good keeper, fantastic with the ball at his feet, would be a great addition to any team in the world. But if Man United were to lose their best player, it wouldn't be a good sort of way for the club to move on. You need to keep all your best players when you're competing for that Champions League title. So for De Gea to leave United, it would be bad news.
But if they could bring someone else in for the longer term and also someone who really wants to be there, do you not think in the long run it could be better off for them? I've looked at Jordan Pickford, apparently he's been linked, doing really well with England. Keylor Navas, now that Real Madrid have Courtois, they're obviously not going after De Gea, but he's also going to leave. So in the longer run, could it eventually end up being better?
I think it's an interesting one. Goalkeepers, they do have long careers. David De Gea is only 28 years old. So technically, you could see him, if he's going to follow Gigi Buffon and hit the age of 40, he's got another 12 years left in his goalkeeping career. And I think Dave's one of those keepers where the maturity's massively shown. Coming into United, getting bullied by Blackburn Rovers. You're talking Jordan Pickford. Jordan Pickford's a goalkeeper that I like. I'm a fan of Jordan Pickford. I think he's a good shot stopper. But again, you compare him to David De Gea, I think Jordan Pickford has the same issue David De Gea had when he came to the Premier League, where he parry shots into danger. I don't think he's very good with the ball at his feet. I think he's a good keeper with a lot of potential, but United have to do a lot of work with their goalkeeping coaches, whereas right now they've got a 28-year-old David De Gea who's not even at his peak. That is the scary side.
So what are United going to do about it, though? Because they've got the option to extend the contract.
David De Gea should be Man United's best paid player, should I say. Winning all the Player of the Years that he's won, the performances he's put in, the unbelievable saves. There are some big results. You take the result at the Emirates last season against Arsenal, a 3-1 win. David De Gea, something like 12 saves. Throw the money at David De Gea. That's what I'm going to say.
Wow, some pretty big words there. So better or worse off? I'm guessing you're definitely going worse.
Yeah, 100%. If Man United lose David De Gea, they'll be in a terrible situation. But luckily, I think a lot of the super clubs in Europe have a good goalkeeper right now, bar maybe Juventus. With Ronaldo there, with Marcelo potentially moving there.
Yeah. Oh,
I don't want to say it.
I'm not having Szczesny as number one. I am not having Szczesny as number one at Juve. It's not about that. But I think we'll move on, though, from De Gea into defence and to Toby Alderweireld at Spurs. I'm split down the middle, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. I think Toby Alderweireld's been put onto a higher echelon of centre-halves in world football than he deserves to be. I'm not going to put him in the top 5. I don't even think I'd put him in the top 10 centre-backs in world football. I think he's a very good player. He's a good Premier League centre-half, but you can see with Tottenham how they struggle at the top end of Europe. You take the Juve game of last season where they had the advantage and they lost that lead. That comes down to your centre-backs. That comes down to your defence. That comes down to that collective strength of a leader coming out of the back. I think Toby would be a great addition to a lot of Premier League sides, but we're talking, is he Sergio Ramos level? Absolutely not. Rafa Varane, Diego Godin, even someone like a Koulibaly at Napoli. He's not at that level. But for Spurs, I think what they've got that's good is a player like Davinson Sanchez that will be, again, I think Davinson Sanchez has a much higher ceiling than Toby Alderweireld. So by letting Toby Alderweireld go, it means that Davinson Sanchez almost becomes the number one partner for, of course, Vertonghen. I think Toby's a good player, but I don't think he's at that elite level where Davinson Sanchez could get there. So for Spurs, could be quite a good thing getting some money in January.
See, the only thing is, and this is the problem that I have, is that Alderweireld apparently, if they trigger the contract extension, much like with De Gea, there'll be a 25 million clause inserted in there. So it's either a pre-contract for a foreign team in January, free in the summer, or if you sell him for big money to Manchester United in January, it stops this £25 million clause coming in next summer. But as I said, I'm still kind of split, and the reason is, and you mentioned him just there, is because of Jan Vertonghen, because he's in the same position. But so what do you think? Are they going to be better or worse off?
I think they'll be better off, and I think with what we've seen with Spurs and what they've done recently so well is sign young players, get them to work under Pochettino, and then turn into superstars. The names are endless: Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen. You put Davinson Sanchez in there, Eric Dyer. What Spurs could do is maybe use Vertonghen, for a bit of a pawn in the move for maybe Matthijs de Ligt. De Ligt is a wonderful player. De Ligt played with Davinson Sanchez at Ajax when they got to the Europa League final at 17. He's now 19. He's now being linked with Barcelona, being linked with Bayern Munich. Maybe they could use Vertonghen back to Ajax, and then obviously De Ligt plus a lot of cash. Obviously, Matthijs de Ligt is a wonderful talent. That could be where Spurs go. So I think I'm going to go with Spurs will be better off without Toby Alderweireld.
All right, so we've got a worse off and a better off so far. Coming on to our next one, though, and this is honestly, I couldn't believe it when I saw it, and it's Aaron Ramsey and his apparent wage demands at Arsenal. So 300k a week is what he wanted, and that's so much so that Arsenal just went no and just flat out rejected giving him a new contract. There's no way he's worth that.
No, absolutely not. He is Arsenal's top scoring central midfielder in their history, but is he worth 300 grand a week? Absolutely not.
No way.
300 grand a week should be left for players that change games. Messi's, Ronaldo's, you big players. If you're a central midfielder that's not even getting into the team, how can you have those crazy wage demands? I think the interesting side with Ramsey as well is he just doesn't fit into Emery's team. Doesn't fit in defensive midfield, doesn't fit in at number 10. So why are Arsenal going to pay him all that money?
This is exactly what I thought. And I just didn't... The thing is, I think previously in recent years, Arsenal have had space for him. I think as you just mentioned there with Emery's team, they have so many attacking options that to think about fitting Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Ozil, if Reece Nelson comes back, all of these attacking players, they haven't even got time to think about Ramsey there. I mean, 300k for a guy on the bench. I mean, it baffles me that Bayern Munich are apparently willing to pay it.
I think that's the interesting side with Ramsey. I think there's a lot of clubs, Real Madrid have also looked at him, and there's clubs that are super clubs that obviously Ramsey gives something. Ramsey's work rate, Ramsey's ability to close space down and press from the front. Like, he will be an asset to a team, but it kind of doesn't fit Emery's system. I think Ramsey suits playing in a three-man midfield. Arsenal aren't playing that at the moment. The likes of Madrid have played it for a while. Bayern Munich play that similar system. So it does make sense, but are they going to throw that amount of money at him? Real Madrid, maybe, yeah. I know that you're understanding the transfer fees gone, but similar 300 grand a week for me, it's just not worth it.
No, and I think that's the problem. That's what separates the great from the best players is the consistency. So I think we're actually both in agreement on this one. We're going to say Arsenal are going to be better off.
Much better off.
100%. So moving on very quickly, and we have PSG, so we're going to go abroad into Europe, and to Adrien Rabiot, who I find it really, really interesting because we talk about Ramsey not being a game changer. Rabiot's job is not to change games. Yet Real Madrid and Barcelona and even Juventus have been linked with huge amounts of money again for him. Is he even worth that, first off? PSG don't think so.
I think the interesting side about Rabiot is every single time you see PSG get dumped out of the Champions League, the best performer on the pitch in the two ties is always Rabiot. He puts his heart on the line, like you're saying, he wins the ball back, he plays with passion, and that's what PSG lack. PSG lack that in their team. Being a leader, coming through the PSG academy, he knows what he has that passion inside. And that's the interesting thing. You mentioned the likes of Barcelona, Madrid, all very interested because he's a talent. Like, not only is he works very hard, he's good on the ball. Like, he could become a complete midfielder.
Yeah,
and I think for PSG, if they let him go, mad.
I always think PSG kind of disrespect him. I've read somewhere that he's rejected 6 contract offers from them.
You've got to look at Rabiot as an individual, as you mentioned, that experience. As PSG, you don't want to let that go. Full stop. You just don't want to let that go. Like, he knows the club, and you've got to keep those players. It's like, but going back to that sort of Ferguson situation, all of those players that Fergie brought through, the John O'Sheas of the world, the Darren Fletchers, that people turn their noses up, ended up being important cogs in title-winning teams. That's what Rabiot is. And to let that go is crazy. And to pay his wage demands, do it. He can be future PSG captain. Just do it.
What are you going to say for better or worse off PSG?
Much worse, sorry. I was about to say much better. No, absolutely rubbish. It'd be a terrible decision to let Rabiot go.
On to our last one, and this is where I think you're going to have a lot to say about it, so I'm going to kind of let you go. Anthony Martial, better or worse off?
Man United would be a lot worse off. You never let a talent like that, 22 years old, leave Manchester United. Since he joined the club, Juan Mata is the only player that's been directly involved in more goals than Martial. What a talent he has been this season as well. Really helped Mourinho out in a dodgy spell, but Mourinho's done some really good coaching in the defensive sense. Martial's shown that improvement and shown that determination. And if United were to let him go after that big investment on a young player now, it'd be crazy. The instinct and that ability to change a game, the ability to take someone on and be direct and go at players is a rarity. And for Man United to lose that, there'd be a hole in their side and they'd have to go out and spend another 100, 120 million.
Yeah.
crazy. Absolutely crazy to even consider not giving him a contract like David De Gea.
But I also feel like there's room for players like Rashford, and I'd even say it about Lukaku. If Lukaku left, I think it'd be even better for United. Could they be better off if it brings through a new Rashford?
I think it's all about having the right system with those players. I'd say arguably playing a front two would be what United need to do, which means that there's a pathway for Rashford to play in the team. There's a pathway for the likes of Martial. You could look to play Gomez in there as well as maybe a striker. You've also got Chong on the right. I think it's fine, but maybe you're looking at someone like Sanchez that was a reactionary move that could be something that United need to go, look, right, let's give Martial this bigger contract. Let's promote Martial to being this big guy that he has been this season. He's been a game changer this season. Let's get him as the forefront of Manchester United. Let's move Sanchez on again. You know, there's reports that PSG are interested in Sanchez. Maybe that's the good play for United, going, we're going to put all of our eggs in an Anthony Martial shaped basket because it'd be terrible to lose him.
So do you see him as a left winger then or as a striker?
To fit the likes of Rashford, Lukaku and Martial in one team, maybe a 4-4-2 with Martial on the left, the other two up front. That's not a problem for me. And I think with football being so fluid and flexible, you know, you can swap. They can do a bit of period on the wing, a bit of period up front. But I think that Martial left winger for me, long term.
I think with all those names, it's actually a pretty good selection headache to have for Mourinho, I guess.
It is, yeah.
But so I guarantee, so you're saying United would be far worse off without Martial?
They would definitely be far worse off without Anthony Martial at the football club.
I think there's a second side to every single one that we've mentioned today, which is from the players' point of view, where they're going to be better off. But maybe we'll do a second video on that in the coming weeks. Thanks so much for talking to me anyway, Dave. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Cheers, buddy. It's always good to come on Onefootball.
No worries. Hashtag ad a little bit there. As for you guys watching, let us know in the comments section below what you thought, whether clubs would be better or worse off with these players leaving on a free contract next summer. As always, you can click here to check out all of the other videos we got going on Onefootball. And until next time, from me and Dave, we will see you guys later.